Have you ever tried so hard to be good that you forgot who you were? You are tired. Maybe you don't even know exactly why, but you feel it. You feel it in your body, in your breath, in that quiet moment before sleep. Like you are always carrying some invisible weight. As if it were your duty, no, your obligation, to keep everything in balance. Please everyone. Avoid conflict. Absorb the noise. Be the peace. Always be kind, understanding, polite. You learned very early that being a good person was the right thing to do. That the good win in the end. That if you are kind, others will give back. That being fair, honest, humble would be enough. And the world would see that. But what if I told you that all of this is a lie? A comfortable, well-wrapped lie. Taught to keep you obedient, agreeable, predictable, to keep you controllable. How many times have you gone quiet just to keep the peace? How many times have you erased a part of yourself, your truth, just so no one would be disappointed? How many times have you let someone cross a line, speak down to you, use you, and you still smiled, said, "It's all good," even when your heart screamed it wasn't? Swallowed your tears, your anger, your pride, in the name of a supposed virtue that only made people ignore you more. Listen closely now. The world does not reward nice. The world rewards the strategic, the ones who see clearly. And if you've made it here, you already feel it in your skin. You've been the nice guy, the understanding friend, the one who always lets things go. And now you're starting to see what that actually costs. The more you try to be accepted, the less you're respected. The more you give, the more they expect. And the more they expect, the less they value. So where does that leave you? That's where Machiavelli comes in. He was not the devil people say he was. He was, perhaps, the first one brave enough to name the truth, that power doesn't follow fairy tales, that pure morality, when detached from reality, is a trap, that being seen as good is not the same as being effective, or fair, or worthy. This is where it gets honest, without filters, without masks. Why you need to stop trying to be a good person. And no, that doesn't mean becoming cruel or cold. It means waking up. It means opening your eyes. It means, finally, painfully, letting go of that sweet but dangerous idea that the world is fair and that being virtuous will automatically bring rewards. We're going to expose the truth, no matter how uncomfortable it may be. Because as long as you are trying to please everyone, you will stay in their hands, a hostage to your own kindness. And if you are already tired of being used, overlooked, discarded, maybe this is your time. Maybe it's time to learn what no one ever taught you. Maybe it's time to learn from Machiavelli. And remember what it feels like to truly choose yourself. If you're here, share where you're watching from in the comments. Let's see how many of us are waking up. And if this resonates, hit subscribe. You're not alone. Do you still believe that the world truly values good people? Look around you. Who are the most admired? Who holds leadership? Who earns space, respect, and influence? Are they the most compassionate, the most fair, the most selfless? Or are they the most strategic, the most assertive, the ones least likely to be manipulated? You see, the truth is brutal. But some truths only become clear when you're already bleeding. The world is not governed by kindness. It's governed by utility. Machiavelli understood this centuries ago. He didn't write The Prince to teach people how to be malicious or cold. He wrote it to reveal how the game is played, how power moves silently behind the curtain. And one of the most bitter lessons he ever gave us is this: being good is not enough. In many cases, being good is the fastest path to being erased. You can spend your entire life being loyal, being thoughtful, being available. You can give the best of yourself, help others without ever asking for anything in return. But the day you stop being useful, you'll be forgotten, replaced, silenced. And the worst part, they won't even feel guilty about it. Because the world doesn't measure your worth by your heart. It measures it by what you bring to the table, by the pressure you create, by the difference you make. Have you noticed that the nice ones are always explaining themselves, always chasing after validation, trying to prove they deserve space? And yet those who set boundaries, who say no, who take up space unapologetically, they're respected, they're heard, they're protected. Why is that? Because blind kindness is mistaken for weakness, and weakness invites disrespect. Those who never confront, they're easy. Those who never challenge, they're safe. And what's safe is easy to exploit. You become a resource, not a presence, a tool, not a person. You can exhaust yourself trying to keep the peace, but if you don't represent consequence, if your absence doesn't shake the room, no one will think twice about using you. It's painful to hear. But haven't you already felt it? Machiavelli once said a leader should not seek to be loved, but to be feared, if ever forced to choose. But what did he mean by that? That true respect doesn't come from people liking you. It comes from their awareness that you can act, that you're not someone to be stepped on, that behind your calm is power, that you're not just a replaceable piece in someone else's plan. And yes, this applies to you, not just kings or leaders or politicians. Because if you keep living only to be pleasant, you'll keep being seen as disposable. Not because you're unworthy, but because this world does not reward those who fade quietly. You were not born with this craving to please. That was taught. And worse, it was conditioned. Since childhood, you learned that being accepted came with a price. Forced smiles, swallowed truths, silenced wants, all in the name of being good. From don't do that, it's rude, to be nice, to don't talk back, be polite. You began shrinking yourself to fit what others expected. But no one told you that pleasing everyone was an emotional trap. A psychological prison built with poisoned praise and punishments disguised as love. Now pause for a moment. What part of you was abandoned to keep the peace? What version of you died so others could stay comfortable? Because behind this kindness, behind the smiles and patience and self-control, there's something deeper, something that may have been sabotaging you for years without you even knowing it. And that is exactly what we'll explore next. Now, in the next part, we will dive into the psychological roots of those who live trying to please, and discover why, so often, being nice is just a disguised form of fear. You weren't born wanting to please everyone. That was taught to you. And worse, it was conditioned. Since childhood, you learned that being accepted came at a price. Giving up parts of yourself, forced smiles, swallowed desires, silenced opinions, all in the name of approval. From don't do that, it's ugly, to be nice, to don't respond, you're so polite. And so, little by little, you molded yourself to fit what others expected. But what no one told you is that pleasing all the time is an emotional trap. A psychological prison built with poisoned compliments and punishments disguised as education. You learned that if you pleased others, you would be loved. That if you expressed anger, set boundaries, or were even slightly selfish, you would be rejected. So, you did what any mind would do in order to survive. You adapted. The problem is that this adaptation slowly became submission. Today, you no longer know how to say no without guilt. You feel responsible for everyone's well-being, even when it tears you apart inside. You feel frustrated, but you keep it to yourself. You feel disappointed, but you forgive too fast. You drain yourself trying to maintain an image others expect from you, not because it's who you are, but because it's what you were taught brings safety. But here's a reality check. This is not kindness. This is fear. Fear of being rejected. Fear of not being lovable. Fear of being seen as selfish or wrong. Fear of being exactly who you are. With needs, with anger, with boundaries, with your own voice. And this fear has turned you into someone who quietly self-destructs. Someone who hides behind behaviors that society rewards, but that emotionally destroy you from within. And the most tragic part? You don't even realize you're doing it. You call it empathy, but it's fear of confrontation. You call it being understanding, but it's fear of abandonment. You call it kindness, but deep down it's fear that you're not enough. Your kindness in truth is not a virtue. It's become a mask, an unconscious strategy to avoid the unbearable pain of rejection. But this mask has a heavy cost. It suffocates your authenticity. It strangles your power. And over time, it drains away your dignity. If you don't take off this mask, it won't just stick. It will fuse into your identity. Until one day, you look in the mirror and have no idea who you really are. But there is a way back. And that path begins by learning from someone who understood image, perception, and power better than almost anyone else. Machiavelli. In the next part, we'll go straight to the core. What the prince can teach us about breaking free from the trap of being seen as good, and instead being respected for who we really are. But let me ask you something. Have you ever felt like no matter how kind, generous, or understanding you are, people still overlook you, still walk over you? Drop a 1 in the comments if you've been that person. Drop a 0 if you finally stop trying. If you're trying to live as a good person, hoping that others will notice your ethics, your integrity, your quiet sacrifices, stop. Machiavelli warned us over 500 years ago, this path is beautiful, but dangerous. Because in the real world, it is not the good who win, it is the effective. And effectiveness, in the game of life, requires strategy. It requires a sober understanding that people do not act based on your goodness. They act out of interest, fear, and power. In The Prince, Machiavelli wrote, "Everyone sees what you appear to be, but few feel what you really are." That sentence is a punch in the gut, because it unmasks the lie we've been told, that being real, pure, and true is enough. It's not. People don't see your intention. They respond to your presence, your image, your perceived strength. You may be the most just person in the world, but if you appear weak, you will be treated as weak. You may carry the kindest heart, but if you don't project power, you will be ignored. And that's why the prince, and yes, here, the prince is you, anyone who wants to take back their life, cannot afford to be naive. He must appear virtuous when it is convenient, and be strategic. When it is necessary, Machiavelli says, the prince must understand the nature of the animal and know how to use it well. He must be a fox to recognize traps and a lion to terrify wolves. This is not just metaphor, it is a brutal truth. The fox is silent, cunning, alert to the hidden. It slips through danger with precision. The lion does not sneak, it dominates. Its presence is the warning. It does not ask for respect, it demands it. And Machiavelli does not tell us to be only one or the other. He says, be both. Be wise enough to know when you're being manipulated, and strong enough to make others think twice before they try. Do you want to be respected? Then understand this. The virtue Machiavelli recommends is not the fragile one taught by moralists. Not obedience disguised as goodness. No. His virtue is a blend of courage, intelligence, audacity, and self-control. It means acting with cold clarity when the situation demands it. It means understanding that sometimes appearing cruel is the only way to protect peace, not out of hatred, out of wisdom. Here's one of his most piercing lines. A man who wishes to act in all circumstances like a good man is doomed to ruin, among so many who are not good. And you know this, not in theory, but in your own skin. You've tried to be good in every situation. And what did you gain? Silence, injustice, abuse. Because people don't play fair. And if you keep playing like they do, you will always lose. This doesn't mean abandoning your values. It means stopping yourself from using them as shackles. It means asking harder questions. How is my goodness being perceived? Who benefits from my silence? Who's using my integrity as their excuse to cross the line? Machiavelli was not a cynic. He was a realist. He saw human nature without veils, without dreams, and wrote The Prince as a survival guide. For a world where appearance is power and weakness, when disguised as virtue, becomes a death sentence. And maybe now you're asking what so many of us have silently wondered. Is there any way to balance this? How do I stop being naive without becoming cold? Here's what they never taught you. You do not have to choose between being nice or being cruel. There is a middle path. It begins with the strength to stop deceiving yourself. There is a confusion, one that destroys the lives of people who only want to do good. It's the lie that says, to be good, you must be submissive. That kindness means accepting everything in silence. That love means forgiving everything without question. That peace means swallowing every injustice that burns you from the inside. But that is not kindness. That's cowardice. That's naivety, dressed up as virtue. And if you can't see the difference, the world will keep using you as its emotional doormat. Because true kindness is not self-erasure. It is awareness. It is clarity. It is choice. Being good does not mean being a smiling fool. Always available. Always agreeable. Always sacrificing yourself for people who wouldn't even lift a finger for you. That's not virtue. That is self-abandonment. It is emotional dependency cleverly disguised as morality. Naivety believes others will treat you with the same heart you carry. Naivety expects fairness, expects recognition, expects gratitude, and then lives disappointed, lives frustrated, because it keeps projecting onto others a nobility that does not exist. True kindness is something else. It is firm. It says no. It walks away. It sees clearly that not everyone deserves your best, and that giving your best to those who offer nothing in return is waste, not generosity. You can be a just, compassionate, and integral person, and still be someone who is respected, who is feared when necessary. You can be the kind of presence that doesn't raise their voice, but whose silence speaks volumes. The kind of person who knows exactly what they tolerate, and what they will never accept. Machiavelli, though often misunderstood as cruel in modern eyes, didn't despise virtue. He despised naivete. He knew that in a world full of predators, kindness without strength is simply fresh meat, offered silently to the middle of the jungle. So the question you must begin asking yourself is not, am I a good person? But rather, is my kindness protecting me or exposing me? Is it making me stronger, or is it slowly destroying me from the inside? Because if your definition of being good involves swallowing every injustice, accepting crumbs, and blaming yourself for the very natural act of feeling anger, then you are not being good. You are being dominated. And domination dressed as virtue is one of the most dangerous forms of self-betrayal. But there is an antidote. There is a balance point where you do not have to give up your essence, but you also do not have to kneel before anyone. A place where you can stand in your center with clarity, courage, and emotional intelligence. Where you can act, not react. In the next part, we will explore that path. We will speak clearly about how to stop being nice without becoming bitter. How to stop betraying yourself in the name of being accepted. How to finally take control of your life without becoming someone you don't recognize. Because if you want to regain your self-respect, that transformation begins here. Many people, once they wake up to their own submission, fall into a dangerous trap. They believe they must swing to the opposite extreme, to become cold, harsh, emotionally untouchable. They trade softness for sharpness, vulnerability for vengeance. This is the rebound effect. After years of being used, hurt, overlooked, they believe the only escape is to become everything they once feared. Someone ruthless, indifferent, calculating. But that too is a prison. Because when you abandon your essence, you're not becoming stronger. You're just building armor around a wound. You are protecting yourself not through healing, but through denial. And that isn't strength. That isn't freedom. That's just trauma, wearing the mask of power. Real liberation begins when you return to wholeness, when you stop performing for others and begin acting from within. It's not about being good or bad, it's about being real. It's about looking at yourself in the mirror and knowing, I can be kind, but I will never again be passive. I can be compassionate, but I will never again be permissive. I can extend a hand, but I will not beg to be seen. So how do you stop being nice without betraying who you are? First, realize your voice matters. You've been conditioned to think that complaining, setting boundaries, or simply disagreeing is selfish. But that is the real lie. Because true selfishness is expecting you to stay quiet while others speak over you. Speaking up, taking a stand, saying, "I do not accept this." That is not selfishness. That is dignity. That is self-respect. Second, practice saying no. Not with anger, not with hostility, but with calm, with firmness, with finality, because a soft but non-negotiable no often holds more power than 1,000 explanations. Why? Because it communicates the one thing the world always tests for: boundaries. And those who have boundaries are respected. Those who don't are used. Third, observe who gets uncomfortable when you change. These people are the thermometer, the mirror. If you begin to assert yourself and someone suddenly calls you cold, strange, selfish, it's because your submission served them. And when you change, you break the invisible pact that allowed them to use you, and that is uncomfortable. But don't be fooled. When people say you've changed, this is not rejection, it's progress. Fourth, stop trying to be understood by everyone. Not everyone will understand your transformation. And that's okay. You don't owe loyalty to the image they created of you. Your loyalty should be to your truth, to your peace, to your emotional well-being. Fifth, replace the craving for acceptance with a commitment to authenticity. Because when you act from your core, some people may walk away, but the right ones will respect you. And even more than that, you'll start to respect yourself. And that kind of self-respect, no one can take it from you. Machiavelli didn't write to turn you cruel. He wrote to free you from naivete. And the greatest form of naivete is believing that being nice is enough to be respected in this world. It's not. It takes courage to step out of the pleaser role. It takes strength to be yourself without asking for permission. But the journey isn't over. Now comes the decisive moment. The choice between continuing to sabotage yourself or finally taking the reins of your own life. Because here's the truth, raw and necessary. Your obsession with being good may be costing you everything. So ask yourself, how long are you going to keep playing nice? How long will you keep giving away your voice, your energy, your dignity to protect an image that doesn't even belong to you? Do you think this is virtue? Do you think it's nobility? No, it's a prison, a psychological one, an emotional one, a cage decorated with applause for being harmless, predictable, obedient. And I'll tell you something few people ever say out loud. No one is coming to rescue you. No one is going to thank you for your sacrifices. No one is going to hand you freedom on a silver platter. Because as long as you allow yourself to be used, there will always be someone willing to use you. This is not malice. This is reality, and reality does not bend to good intentions. You can keep being that ideal good person society loves to exploit, or you can wake up. You can decide that your kindness is no longer a collar, that you will act with intention, with clarity, with boundaries, that you will choose who deserves your generosity, and that you will no longer live begging for approval. Because here's the truth. The world respects those who respect themselves. And freedom, it begins the moment you stop asking for permission to exist. So tell me in the comments, when was the last time you said no without guilt? When did you first realize that being nice was breaking you? What story from your life needs to be heard? Let it out. Your truth might be the spark that frees someone else. And if this made you reflect, drop a comment with, "I choose me." Like this video, share it with someone who needs it, and don't forget to subscribe. The next one will take you deeper. You'll need it. Thank you for being here. And remember, you're not alone. Not anymore.